The Morningstar SureSine mobile utility app is specifically designed for the new line of 150 watt to 2500 watt SureSine inverters. The application allows users to view real-time and historic data from the inverter, the ability to send control commands, adjust the low voltage disconnect and reconnect settings, and update to the latest firmware. In order to use the SureSine utility app, the user must enable Bluetooth communications with dip switch 8 up before connecting DC power to the inverter. Upon opening the SureSine utility app, the list of available SureSine inverters will be displayed. If no SureSine inverters are detected, a virtual device is displayed. The virtual device can be selected in order to provide a preview of the utility app. Please note that the virtual views may not be up to date with the latest version of the app. So now we'll select the available device from the list to connect to the SureSine inverter. The main dashboard provides real-time data from the inverter. At the top you can see the model number, and here we have a 150 watt, 120 volt, 60 Hz hardwired model, and below that the serial number and the firmware version. There is a diagram of the inverter with the status and AC outlet LED states shown. Here we see that the status is green, OK, and the AC output is off. If there was an alarm or fault, it would show the alarm in yellow or fault in red at the bottom of the screen. Next to the diagram of the inverter, on the left is the resettable kilowatt hour energy usage, and on the right is the total kilowatt hour usage. Then you can see the internal clock date and time, battery voltage and current, AC voltage and power, and lastly, the heat sink temperature. Now let's take a look at the historic data by selecting the graph icon at the bottom of the screen. At the top is an hour meter, which displays the total number of hours that the inverter AC output has been on. Then it shows the resettable and total AC load kilowatt hour energy counters. Then there is a section below this that allows you to read the most recent data from the SureSine and view it graphically. Here you can select the duration that you want to see the graph starting from the last 3 hours up to the last 24 hours. Here we will select 3 hours and then read to get the graphs of the last 3 hours. The SureSine inverter internally logs the battery voltage, AC energy, AC voltage, and AC power once every 15 minutes. Therefore, we can see 12 data points on each of the graphs for the last 3 hours. Then below the graphs, if there are any faults or alarms in the last 3 hours, it would be shown there. You can select any point in the graphs to see the actual values. Now let's look at the command screen by selecting the command icon at the bottom. Here you can see that you need to enter a password to continue, which is 141. The password is also required to access the settings and firmware update screens. In order to turn the AC power on and off with the app, you need to have dip switch 1 in the on position for digital control, and also the AC power mode switch in the remote position. As you saw on the main dashboard, the AC output is off. Here you can select reconnect to turn on the AC output. So let's do that and confirm that we have AC power now. So here on the main dashboard we have AC power on now. You can also clear the resettable kilowatt hour counters and clear the faults and alarms from the history if you want. In addition, you can select the reset control button to reboot the SureSine. Now let's take a look at the settings. One thing you might want to do first is set the inverter clock time to the time on your mobile device. So first I will select this to update the inverter clock time. The main thing is that you can change the low voltage disconnect and reconnect settings. I will go ahead and change LVD to 11.6 volts and LVR to 12.8 volts here. You need to make sure that dip switch 4 is in the off position for custom LVD settings. Otherwise, if dip switch 4 is in the on position, it enables the presets and you won't be able to change the settings. The last setting here allows you to restore the factory default settings. And then you can see the dip switch settings below that, which is very helpful. The last icon on the right is the firmware update screen. When you install or update the SureSine utility app from the Play Store, the latest version of the firmware will be available here. All you need to do is select the file, and then there will be a series of prompts while the file has been confirmed. And then once confirmed, select Start to proceed with the firmware update. There's a time lapse here, but it should take 5 to 10 minutes to update the firmware. It is important to keep the utility app open and the phone in close proximity in order to maintain the Bluetooth connection to the SureSine, and also make sure not to disconnect the inverter from the DC power source until the firmware update has been completed. If the procedure is interrupted in midstream, you will need to start over and the SureSine will not be operable until the firmware has been uploaded successfully.